Most people are not unhappy because life is hard. They are unhappy because they are constantly fighting what already exists. The moment something happens that does not match your expectations, the mind begins to argue, saying, "This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. Life should be different by now." That silent resistance creates an inner conflict far more painful than the situation itself. Reality never argues back, yet you slowly lose peace, energy, and joy trying to force life to follow your preferences. The Buddha taught that suffering begins the moment the mind resists the present moment, and that peace appears the instant this resistance ends. You do not need a new life, different people, or perfect conditions to be at peace. You only need to stop demanding that reality be something other than what it is. When the inner fight ends, the mind naturally becomes quiet. The heart feels lighter, and happiness, something that was never missing, gently returns on its own. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from life itself, but from the mind's refusal to accept life as it is. Events happen according to causes and conditions beyond our control, yet the mind immediately reacts with craving and aversion, wanting pleasant experiences to stay and unpleasant experiences to disappear. When something painful happens, the first pain is natural and unavoidable. Loss hurts, disappointment hurts, change hurts, but what follows is often far more damaging. The second layer of pain created by resistance. This is the voice in the mind that says, "This shouldn't have happened. Why is this happening to me? I can't accept this." That inner argument turns pain into prolonged suffering. Arguing with reality is like standing in a flowing river and trying to push the water backward. No matter how hard you struggle, the river continues to move and all you gain is exhaustion. In the same way, reality does not change because you resist it. Life continues to unfold while your energy is drained by anger, frustration, and mental tension. The Buddha saw clearly that this resistance is optional. Pain may arise, but suffering only continues when the mind refuses to let the moment be exactly as it is. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is not the enemy. The mind's rejection of it is. When you stop resisting what has already happened, something subtle yet powerful occurs. The body relaxes, the breath softens, the mind loosens its grip. Pain may still exist, but it is no longer multiplied by blame, fear, or endless questioning. Acceptance does not mean approving of what happened or pretending it does not hurt. It simply means acknowledging reality without fighting it. Reality does not require your agreement to exist, and peace begins the moment you stop demanding that it be different. One of the deepest sources of suffering is not what happens, but what we believed should have happened instead. The mind quietly carries expectations about how life should unfold, how people should behave, how success should arrive, how quickly pain should disappear. When reality fails to meet these expectations, frustration arises. The Buddha taught that expectations are subtle forms of attachment, and attachment is the root of suffering. We do not suffer because life goes wrong. We suffer because life refuses to obey the image we created in our mind. From a Buddhist perspective, reality moves according to causes and conditions, not personal desires. People act from their own conditioning. Situations unfold from countless unseen factors. Yet the mind insists, "This should not be this way," as if reality has made a mistake. That belief turns every experience into a struggle. You are no longer meeting life, you are judging it. The moment judgment appears, peace disappears. When you release the demand that reality match your expectations, the heart becomes lighter. This does not mean you stop caring or aiming for improvement. It means you stop punishing yourself because life did not follow your plan. The Buddha taught that wisdom begins when we see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. From this clarity, right action naturally follows. You respond instead of react. You adapt instead of resist. And in letting go of rigid expectations, you discover a quiet freedom, the freedom to be at peace with life as it unfolds, moment by moment. Many people misunderstand acceptance, believing it means giving up, becoming weak, or allowing injustice to continue. From a Buddhist perspective, this misunderstanding itself becomes a source of suffering. The Buddha never taught blind tolerance or surrender to harm. What he taught was clear seeing, meeting reality exactly as it is, without distortion, denial, or emotional resistance. Acceptance is not the end of action. It is the beginning of wise action. When the mind is filled with resistance, it reacts from fear, anger, or frustration. In this state, actions are impulsive and often create more suffering. The Buddha observed that a mind trapped in resistance cannot see clearly, just as muddy water cannot reflect the moon. Acceptance allows the mind to settle. When you stop arguing with reality, emotional turbulence quiets, and clarity naturally arises. From this calm awareness, your response becomes deliberate, compassionate, and effective rather than reactive and harmful. Acceptance also means acknowledging the limits of control. Some things can be changed through effort, patience, and right action. Others cannot be changed no matter how much we resist them. Buddhism teaches wisdom as the ability to know the difference. When you accept what cannot be changed, you conserve energy and protect the heart from unnecessary pain. When you see clearly what can be changed, you act without bitterness or inner conflict. This balance is not passivity. It is strength guided by understanding. The Buddha's path is a path of inner freedom. He did not promise a world without difficulty, but a mind that no longer suffers because of difficulty. Acceptance frees you from the mental struggle that drains your life force. When resistance ends, you are no longer fighting shadows. You are present, grounded, and capable. In this state, even difficult action arises from peace rather than anger. And in letting go of the need to argue with reality, you discover a deeper power, the power to live with clarity, courage, and inner peace. The greatest battles we fight are rarely outside of us. They are inside our own minds. The argument with reality does not exist in the world. It exists in thought. Life simply unfolds, yet the mind immediately interprets, judges, and resists what arises. Buddhism teaches that these thoughts are not facts. They are passing mental events, conditioned by past experiences, fears, attachments, and habits of the mind. When we mistake these thoughts for absolute truth, we begin a silent war with reality itself. This is unfair, I shouldn't feel this way, or life shouldn't be like this, becomes a spark, and soon a fire of mental suffering blazes within us. Most of us live in this invisible battlefield most of the time, unaware that it is self-created. We believe life is attacking us, when in truth, it is our thoughts interpreting life that cause pain. The mind labels, categorizes, and magnifies every event. A small inconvenience becomes catastrophic. A minor rejection feels like failure, and a passing discomfort transforms into endless torment. This is the nature of mental argument, the mind's habit of insisting that reality conforms to its expectations, and the relentless judging of what is. Yet in this entire struggle, the world itself remains unchanged. It is the mind that twists perception into suffering. Buddhism teaches a radical alternative: mindfulness. Through awareness, we can observe thoughts as they arise, without obeying them, without identifying with them, without reacting automatically. Each thought can be seen as a cloud passing through the vast sky of consciousness. The thought, "This is unfair," is just that, a thought. It does not define you. It does not control reality. And when you stop giving it the power of belief, the argument slowly dissolves. You realize that the mind has been spinning a story, a narrative that amplifies discomfort, that insists life should be otherwise. When this story is seen clearly, the grip of suffering begins to loosen. This is not a denial of experience or an act of suppression. You do not ignore reality. You do not numb yourself to life's challenges. Instead, you see clearly the difference between what is happening and the mind's reaction to it. The Buddha pointed out that freedom lies in this discernment. Reality remains the same, unchanged and indifferent to your resistance, yet your inner experience transforms completely. Where once there was anger, resentment, or fear, there is now space, clarity, and calm. Where once you argued endlessly with life, you now observe life with gentle attention. This does not mean life becomes easier or that difficulties vanish. It means your mind stops feeding the suffering. The argument ends not because the world changed, but because the mind no longer insists on its version of reality. To practice this, notice every thought that demands life be different. Recognize it as a passing event, a habit of the mind rather than a statement of truth. Breathe, step back, and observe without judgment. Slowly, the habitual resistance that caused so much tension begins to fade. Over time, the mind becomes less reactive, less combative, and more spacious. You gain the profound realization that the source of suffering is not outside. It has always been the unexamined stories we tell ourselves. And in seeing this clearly, a freedom emerges that is impossible to take away. You are no longer a participant in a war with reality because you no longer fight in your own mind. Peace arises naturally, effortlessly, and without condition, and with it, the seeds of happiness that were always present begin to flourish. One of the most profound truths the Buddha taught is that everything in life is impermanent. Nothing remains the same. Nothing can be held forever, and everything arises and passes according to causes and conditions. Emotions, relationships, possessions, health, success, and even suffering, all of these are in constant flux. Pain does not last forever, and neither does joy. Life is a continuous river of change, flowing regardless of our desires, expectations, or resistance. Yet so often, the mind behaves as if permanence were guaranteed. We cling to moments, to people, to experiences, insisting that they remain as we want them to. This clinging creates suffering, for the world will not obey the demands of attachment. When we argue with reality, we are, in effect, arguing with impermanence itself. We resist the natural unfolding of life, demanding stability where none exists. The Buddha observed that this resistance is the root of so much mental anguish. We grieve over what passes, fear what may come, and obsess over what we cannot hold. A relationship ends, and the mind refuses to accept it. A failure occurs, and the mind resists, clinging to how things should have been. A fleeting moment of happiness fades, and we try to grasp it desperately. Each act of resistance multiplies suffering because the mind insists on defying the most fundamental law of existence, that everything changes. Understanding impermanence transforms the way we experience life. When you truly see that nothing lasts, acceptance arises naturally. Clinging and resistance lose their power because you begin to recognize their futility. You no longer fight against what is passing, nor do you try to control what cannot be controlled. The world continues to change, yet the mind becomes more spacious, more grounded, and less reactive. Even pain, though still felt, is no longer magnified by fear or longing. Loss is no longer experienced as devastation, but as a momentary part of life's continuous flow. This awareness does not lead to passivity. On the contrary, it leads to freedom and skillful action. When you understand impermanence, you can engage fully with life, love deeply, work diligently, pursue your goals, Without becoming trapped by fear of loss or obsession with permanence, you act wisely because your actions are not driven by desperation or clinging. They are guided by clear perception and compassionate understanding. The Buddha taught that happiness does not arise from controlling life, because control is an illusion. Happiness arises when you align with life's changing nature, flowing with it rather than struggling against it. Practicing awareness of impermanence is a daily exercise. Notice the passing of moments, the rise and fall of emotions, the changing faces of people, and the shifts in circumstances. See clearly that nothing can be held forever. Each insight loosens the grip of attachment, reduces resistance, and softens the heart. Gradually, a profound peace emerges, not a temporary relief, but a deep understanding that life itself is never fixed, yet the mind can remain calm amidst the constant flux. By embracing impermanence, you stop fighting life, and in that surrender, freedom and joy quietly awaken. You realize that the river of existence flows, and for the first time, you let yourself move with it rather than against it. The Buddha taught that peace is not something we achieve by controlling the world, changing others, or forcing circumstances to match our desires. True peace arises when the mind stops struggling against reality and simply allows life to unfold as it is. Most of us carry an invisible weight, a quiet tension created by constant resistance. We argue with time, resist change, resent situations, and secretly fight against the inevitability of loss and uncertainty. This invisible battle drains the mind, clouds judgment, and robs the heart of calm. We are so busy opposing reality that we fail to notice the subtle, ever-present peace that has been available to us all along. Letting life be does not mean inaction or indifference. It does not mean surrender to injustice or apathy in the face of difficulty. Buddhism teaches that true acceptance is grounded in clarity and awareness. When the mind stops fighting, it can see what is within its control and what is not. It can act wisely, compassionately, and skillfully, without the distortion created by fear, anger, or resistance. In this state, decisions are no longer reactive. They are deliberate and guided by understanding. Letting life be is the soil in which wisdom and peace can grow. It is the foundation upon which skillful living is built. Consider the way a leaf floats on a river. It does not struggle against the current. It moves with it, adapting to each twist and turn, yet it does not lose its essence. In the same way, when you allow life to flow without mental struggle, you do not lose yourself. You simply move with the rhythm of existence rather than against it. The mind, once clouded by resistance and endless argument, becomes spacious. Anxiety softens. Tension dissolves. A gentle clarity emerges, allowing you to respond to life with calm and compassion, rather than with panic, frustration, or resentment. This does not mean life becomes easy. Challenges still appear, loss still happens, and pain still arises. But the mind experiences them differently. When you no longer resist what is, pain is felt fully, but not magnified. Loss is acknowledged, but does not lead to despair. Difficult people or situations no longer control your inner state. By letting life be, the mind is freed from the unnecessary battle that turns ordinary experiences into suffering. Peace is not earned. It is uncovered when resistance ends. The Buddha's teachings remind us that every moment of resistance is a moment lost to inner turmoil. Each time you allow yourself to stop arguing with life, to stop insisting it conform to your expectations, the mind relaxes, the heart softens, and a subtle joy emerges. This joy is not dependent on external circumstances. It is a quiet, steady presence, rooted in the awareness that life itself, in all its impermanence and unpredictability, is exactly as it should be in this moment. And when the mind finally lets life be, you discover something extraordinary. The peace you were searching for, was never somewhere outside. It has been quietly waiting within you all along. The final, most powerful lesson the Buddha teaches is this: happiness is not something you acquire, achieve, or earn. Happiness is always present, quietly waiting for the mind to stop resisting life. Most of us believe that joy depends on circumstances being perfect, people behaving as we wish, or events unfolding according to plan. We spend our lives chasing ideal conditions and blaming the world when they fail to appear. Yet Buddhism teaches the opposite. The struggle itself is what blocks happiness. Every argument with reality, every demand that life conform to our expectations, is a wall that separates us from the peace and joy that is already here. When we insist that life should be different, we create an invisible prison. The mind becomes tense, the heart heavy, and even moments of beauty or success are clouded by fear, anxiety, or dissatisfaction. We are like a bird, flapping frantically against the walls of a cage we built ourselves, wondering why freedom never comes. Yet the cage is only real as long as we cling to resistance. The moment we release it, the walls disappear, and happiness is revealed as our natural state. This is why the Buddha said that suffering is optional, and freedom begins the moment we stop arguing with life. Happiness does not come from controlling outcomes or forcing events. It does not come from avoiding pain or clinging to pleasure. True happiness arises when the mind stops opposing reality and simply observes life with clarity and acceptance. When you meet each moment exactly as it is, without judgment, without demand, without complaint, you create a space for peace to emerge. In this space, the mind is no longer caught in fear, anger, or frustration. The heart no longer carries tension, resentment, or longing. What remains is the calm awareness of life unfolding, accompanied by a quiet, steady joy that does not depend on circumstance. Consider the natural world. Rivers flow, seasons change, trees bloom and fall, and the wind moves freely through the sky. Nothing resists its nature, and nothing clings to permanence. Yet within this constant change, there is a harmony, a beauty, and a deep sense of ease. Humans, when caught in resistance, forget this truth. We fight impermanence, argue with reality, and cling to what cannot be held. The Buddha reminds us that the mind, not life, is where happiness is blocked. The moment resistance ends, the flow of life becomes effortless, and joy appears naturally. This lesson also teaches compassion and perspective. When we see that everyone is struggling in the same way, fighting reality, resisting change, clinging to desires, we develop empathy and patience for ourselves and others. The same argument that robs us of happiness is often mirrored in the minds of those around us. Recognizing this shared human struggle softens judgment and opens the heart. Happiness is not selfish. It grows when it is shared. When the mind ceases to argue with life, peace and joy radiate outward, affecting relationships, decisions, and every interaction. The Buddha's final wisdom is that happiness is already here. It has never been missing. We simply fail to notice it because we are too busy resisting what is. The struggle against reality creates noise, distraction, and suffering. Stop resisting. Stop arguing. Stop demanding that life conform to your desires. Breathe, observe, and let life be exactly as it is. In this surrender, you discover a clarity that is both liberating and transformative. You see that nothing outside could ever give you what has always existed within, the unshakable, quiet happiness that comes when the mind finally rests. And so, the ultimate truth is simple yet profound. Happiness is not ahead, behind, or somewhere outside yourself. Happiness arises the moment you stop fighting, the moment you stop demanding, the moment you stop arguing with the world. It is the natural state of a mind aligned with reality. Life continues to unfold. Change continues to happen. Challenges will arise, and losses will appear. But none of these can touch the joy that comes from allowing life to be. When you stop resisting, the argument ends, and happiness, which was never missing, reveals itself in its full, radiant, and effortless presence. Life is not waiting for you to get it right. Life simply is. And the moment you stop arguing with it, everything changes. The Buddha taught that suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by the mind's resistance to them. Each of the 7 lessons we explored today, from recognizing the battle our thoughts create, to understanding impermanence, to embracing acceptance and letting life flow, points to the same truth. Happiness is always available, but only when the mind stops fighting what already exists. You do not need to change the world. You do not need to control outcomes, correct others, or make life perfect. All you need is to stop insisting that life conform to your expectations. Stop resisting. Stop demanding. Stop arguing with reality. And in that stillness, peace will arise naturally. The mind will settle. The heart will soften. And happiness, which has been quietly present all along, will gently return. Remember, freedom is not found in avoiding pain. It is found in stopping the struggle against it. Joy is not discovered in acquiring more. It is revealed when resistance ends. Life unfolds perfectly in its own way, and when you let it be, you discover that the only thing you ever needed to be happy was already inside you. So breathe. Let go. Allow reality to flow through you without opposition. Meet each moment as it is, and watch as the quiet, effortless happiness you have been seeking all along blooms within, lighting up your life from the inside out.